Hello, and welcome to Infidelity Tales Lab. Your support means everything to us. We'd love to know, which geographical location are you joining from today? At home? On the go? Share with us below. Now, let's dive into today's story. Chapter 1. Hidden Cracks. Liam Frost stared at the granite countertop in his kitchen, running his finger along a nearly invisible hairline crack. Much like his marriage, it had appeared perfect from a distance. The crack had been there for months, perhaps years, but he'd only noticed it recently, just as he was beginning to see the fissures in his 15-year relationship with Veronica. At 41, Liam had built himself up from nothing. Growing up in foster care in rural Montana had hardened him, teaching him to rely only on himself. He'd parlayed his outdoorsmanship and survival skills into a successful adventure tourism company, taking wealthy clients on guided expeditions through some of North America's most challenging terrains. "You working this weekend?" Veronica asked, entering the kitchen. At 38, she still turned heads with her athletic build and striking features. They met when she signed up for one of his expeditions. Back then, her determination and fearlessness had captivated him. "The Warren party canceled because of the weather, so I'm free," Liam replied, looking up from the crack. "I thought maybe we could head up to the cabin." Something flickered across Veronica's face. Hesitation, maybe disappointment. "I promised Brooke I'd help with her charity event," she said. "But you go. You've been working too hard anyway." Brooke Sullivan was Veronica's newest friend, a wealthy divorcee who'd moved to their small mountain town of Pinecrest last year. Liam had met her only a handful of times, but had instantly disliked the woman's performative charm. "The forecast says there's a big system moving in," Liam said. "Might be the last chance to get up there before the passes close for winter." Veronica's phone buzzed. She glanced at it, then quickly turned it face down. "I really can't cancel on Brooke again," she said, her voice strangely firm. That night, while Veronica slept, Liam checked their phone records online. Over the past 3 months, there were hundreds of texts and calls to a number he didn't recognize. The timestamps were curious, many late at night or during times Veronica had claimed to be with Brooke. The following day, Liam called his only true friend, Nathan Sawyer, who worked as an IT security specialist. "Need a favor, Nate?" No questions asked. Within hours, Liam was reading texts between his wife and someone saved as B. The messages left nothing to the imagination. B wasn't Brooke Sullivan. It was Benjamin Caldwell, the new physician at the sports medicine clinic where Veronica worked as a physical therapist. Liam felt something cold and familiar settle in his chest. The same detachment he'd experienced as a child when yet another foster family decided they didn't want him after all. He'd learned then to channel pain into purpose, and he would do so again. As he scrolled through months of messages, he discovered something else. Veronica and Benjamin weren't just having an affair. They were discussing something about Liam's situation. What bothered him most wasn't the betrayal. It was being made a fool of. That night, Liam suggested they both take time off and head to their remote cabin in the Bitterroot Mountains. "Like the old days," he said, "when we first met." To his surprise, Veronica agreed immediately. When she went to shower, her phone buzzed with a message from B. Perfect timing. "Insurance policy in place. Make it look like an accident." Insurance policy. Accident. The phrases burned into Liam's mind as he quietly replaced her phone. The crack in their marriage wasn't just a fissure, it was a deadly precipice. Chapter 2. The Doctor's Prescription. Dr. Benjamin Caldwell had come to Pinecrest with impeccable credentials and a tragic backstory. His wife had died in a hiking accident 2 years prior, which had prompted his move from Boston to the quieter pace of Montana. Women in town found his grief romantic. Men respected his dedication to the outdoors and his skill as an orthopedic surgeon. Liam decided to learn more about the man who was sleeping with his wife and apparently plotting his demise. He called in another favor, this time from Teddy Reeves, a former client who worked as a private investigator. "I need everything on Dr. Benjamin Caldwell," Liam said. "And I mean everything." What Teddy uncovered was disturbing. Benjamin's wife hadn't died in a hiking accident. She'd fallen from their apartment balcony in Boston. While Benjamin had been cleared of any wrongdoing, The investigation had noted inconsistencies in his statement. More damning was the $2 million life insurance policy he'd taken out on his wife just months before her death. The pattern continued with his previous girlfriend, who had survived a mysterious car accident after breaking up with him. The brake lines in her car had been cut. Again, no charges were filed, but local police had Benjamin on their radar. Meanwhile, Veronica was behaving strangely. She suggested they update their life insurance policies, casually mentioning that Liam's dangerous profession warranted better coverage. "What's got you thinking about mortality?" Liam asked, keeping his tone light. "One of Benjamin's patients at the clinic, a mountain guide like you, had a terrible accident. His family was left with nothing," she explained, not meeting his eyes. "It just made me realize we should be better prepared." Liam agreed to increase his life insurance to $5 million, with Veronica as the sole beneficiary. What he didn't tell her was that he'd added a specific clause. The policy would be void in case of suicide or if the beneficiary was implicated in the policyholder's death. The next piece of the puzzle came when Liam accessed Veronica's email. She'd been researching wilderness accidents, untraceable poisons, and hypothermia deaths. In one exchange with Benjamin, she wrote, "His survival skills make this tricky. It has to look like he made a mistake, got careless, or was caught unprepared. No one would believe that otherwise." Benjamin had responded, "The weather is key. Rescue attempts will be delayed or impossible with the forecasted blizzard. As for the rest, I've taken care of it. Trust me, my darling, by spring, you'll be a wealthy widow." Liam felt a strange sense of calm. He'd spent his life preparing for the worst. It was what made him an exceptional guide. Now those same skills would ensure his survival, not just in the wilderness, but against the predators in his own home. As he continued digging, Liam discovered Benjamin had a massive gambling debt with some dangerous people. The doctor needed money fast, and Liam's life insurance policy was their ticket to freedom. That night, Liam installed a small, disguised camera in the living room. Over the next week, it captured Veronica and Benjamin meeting in his house, discussing their plans, and mocking Liam's trust in his wife. "He still thinks we're going to that couple's retreat next month," Veronica laughed in one recording. "By then, I'll be planning his funeral." Benjamin pulled her into a kiss. "You sure you can go through with it?" After 15 years of listening to his survival stories, watching him take credit for the business I helped build, "Trust me, I won't lose sleep," Veronica replied. "Besides, 5 million reasons say I can adjust to widowhood." Liam watched the footage with growing resolve. The upcoming cabin trip would indeed be like the old days, a matter of survival, but not his. Chapter 3, Blizzard Betrayal. The morning they left for the cabin, the sky hung heavy with the promise of snow. Liam had secretly prepared the cabin the previous day, setting up surveillance equipment and making certain critical modifications. As they loaded the final supplies into their SUV, Benjamin drove past their house, slowing briefly, a visual confirmation of the plan in motion. Veronica was unusually attentive during the drive, asking about his current expeditions and even reminiscing about their early adventures together. To the casual observer, they would have appeared to be a couple rekindling their romance. "Remember our first winter up here?" she asked, her hand resting on his arm. "Hard to forget," Liam replied. "That storm nearly buried the cabin. Good thing I always over-prepare." Her smile tightened slightly. Always the Boy Scout. As they approached the cabin, the first snowflakes began to fall. The weather report had warned of a significant system moving in, with projections of 3 to 4 feet of snow at higher elevations. The cabin, situated at 8,500 feet, would be completely isolated for days. "I forgot how beautiful it is up here," Veronica said as they unloaded their gear. "So remote, so peaceful, and completely off the grid," Liam added, watching her reaction carefully. They spent the day settling in, and Liam purposefully drank the coffee Veronica prepared, despite noticing the slight residue at the bottom of his cup. By evening, he pretended to feel dizzy and disoriented. "You don't look well," Veronica said, her concern not reaching her eyes. "Let me get you some water." The snow was falling heavily now, the wind howling around the cabin. Liam had accidentally left some of their supplies in the SUV. I need to get the emergency kit, he slurred, playing up his supposedly drugged state. I'll get it, Veronica offered quickly. You're in no condition. No, Liam insisted. There's a technique to starting the snowmobile in this weather. I'll go. Outside, the temperature had dropped to 15 degrees with wind chill pushing it below zero. Liam staggered to the garage where their snowmobile was kept, making sure Veronica was watching from the window. He deliberately fumbled with the keys, dropped them in the snow, and generally appeared increasingly impaired. What Veronica didn't know was that the water she'd given him contained the emetic he'd switched with the sedative she'd tried to drug him with. He was perfectly alert. Liam started the snowmobile and drove it around to the cabin's front entrance where the emergency kit was allegedly stored in their SUV. He made a show of dropping the kit, spilling its contents. As expected, Veronica emerged from the cabin, ostensibly to help him. "This is ridiculous," she said, her breath visible in the frigid air. "You're too out of it. Let me drive the snowmobile back to the garage." The moment she climbed onto the vehicle, Liam noticed her phone light up with a text. It was from Benjamin. "Don't lose your nerve. Weather worsening. Perfect conditions. No one will question it." "You're right," Liam mumbled, swaying slightly. "You drive. I'll get the rest." As Veronica started the engine, Liam pretended to collapse against the SUV. She revved the snowmobile and circled back, stopping a few feet from him. "Liam, are you okay?" she called out, her voice barely audible over the wind. He rolled over, looking up at her through the swirling snow. "Something's wrong. I think I need help." In that moment, Veronica made her choice. Her face hardened as she gunned the engine. "Should have bought a better coat," she shouted, her voice filled with sudden, unveiled contempt. "Always so prepared, except when it matters." She turned the snowmobile toward the access road. "Benjamin's waiting for me at the highway. Goodbye, Liam. Maybe in your next life, don't be so fucking boring." As the snowmobile's taillights disappeared into the blizzard, Liam stood up perfectly steady. He'd expected the betrayal, but hearing it so nakedly still cut deep. He retrieved his satellite phone from a hidden pocket and called the first number on his list. "Nathan, it's time. Track the snowmobile." "Yes." She did exactly what we expected. "And Nate? Make sure the recording is secure." What Veronica didn't know was that Liam had installed a tracking device and a weatherproof camera on the snowmobile the previous day. The camera was currently recording her flight and would capture her meeting with Benjamin. More importantly, it had recorded her explicit admission and abandonment. Liam made his way back to the cabin, activated the emergency generator he'd hidden from Veronica, and settled in to wait. The hunter was now the hunted, and the trap had been perfectly set. Chapter 4. Cold Trail. The mountain rescue team found Liam Frost 36 hours after Veronica abandoned him. He was hypothermic but alive, having managed to create an emergency shelter when the blizzard intensified. The team was led by Hank Pullman, a grizzled search and rescue veteran who had trained with Liam years ago. "Jesus, Frost," Hank said as they loaded him into the rescue helicopter. "Your wife said you wandered off disoriented. Said she tried to find you, but couldn't in the storm." Liam's laugh was weak but bitter. "Is that the story she's telling?" At the hospital in Missoula, Detective Olivia Renner sat beside Liam's bed, reviewing his statement. In her 15 years with the Missoula County Sheriff's Department, she'd seen plenty of domestic disputes turn deadly, but rarely with such calculation. "So you're telling me your wife and her lover attempted to murder you for the insurance money?" Detective Renner's tone was professionally skeptical. "I'm not just telling you," Liam replied, his voice hoarse from exposure. "I'm showing you." He gestured to Nathan, who sat quietly in the corner with a laptop. "The recording from the snowmobile has been uploaded to a secure server. You'll see everything." The footage was damning. It showed Veronica's clear abandonment, her statement about Benjamin waiting for her, and their subsequent rendezvous at the highway where they embraced before driving away in separate vehicles. "There's more," Nathan said, pulling up additional files. "We have recordings from their meetings at the house, discussions of the insurance policy, and Dr. Caldwell's suggestion to make it look like an accident." Detective Renner's skepticism vanished as she watched the assembled evidence. "This is comprehensive," she admitted. Most victims don't have this level of documentation. Most victims don't know their targets until it's too late, Liam replied. I had suspicions for weeks. I don't leave survival to chance, detective. While Liam recovered, Veronica and Benjamin were brought in for questioning. Their stories quickly fell apart when confronted with the evidence. Both were arrested and charged with attempted murder, conspiracy, and insurance fraud. What should have been a straightforward case took an unexpected turn when Benjamin's attorney, Maxwell Penn, a sharp-tongued criminal defense specialist, moved to have the recordings deemed inadmissible. These recordings were made without my client's knowledge or consent, Penn argued in a preliminary hearing. Mr. Frost engaged in illegal surveillance. The district attorney countered that Montana's one-party consent law allowed Liam to record conversations he was part of, while the snowmobile camera was installed on property he owned. The legal battle dragged on for weeks. During this time, Liam discovered that Benjamin had a previous identity. Before becoming Benjamin Caldwell, he had been Brian Cooper, a medical resident in Chicago who'd been dismissed after a patient died under suspicious circumstances. He'd changed his name and fabricated parts of his history before moving to Boston. Meanwhile, Veronica was working on a different strategy. She reached out to Liam through her attorney, offering to testify against Benjamin in exchange for leniency. She claimed she was coerced. Detective Renner told Liam during a case update. Says Caldwell manipulated her, that she never intended for you to die. Liam's expression remained impassive. Play the recording of her at our house again. The one where she says she won't lose sleep over my death. As the case made headlines across Montana, Liam retreated to a rented condo in Missoula. He closed his adventure tourism business temporarily and declined all interview requests. To the public, he appeared to be a traumatized victim seeking privacy during a difficult time. In reality, Liam was meticulously planning the next phase of his response. The legal system might punish Veronica and Benjamin, but Liam knew that justice and vengeance were often distant cousins. For true retribution, he would need to take matters into his own hands. They tried to write my ending, he told Nathan during one of their strategy sessions. Now I'll write theirs. Chapter 5. Thawing Revelations. While the legal proceedings continued, Liam began investigating the deeper connections between Veronica and Benjamin. This led him to Brooke Sullivan, the woman who had supposedly been Veronica's alibi on numerous occasions. Brooke lived in an exclusive lakeside community outside Pinecrest. When Liam knocked on her door, she answered wearing designer yoga wear and a surprised expression. Liam? My God, are you okay? I've been following the news. It's absolutely horrible what Veronica did. He studied her face, looking for signs of complicity. Can we talk? Inside her immaculately decorated home, Brooke seemed genuinely distressed. I had no idea what she was planning, Liam. You have to believe me. But you knew about the affair, he stated flatly. Brooke's hesitation was brief, but noticeable. Yes, she admitted. I tried to talk her out of it. I told her if she was unhappy, she should just leave you, not. She trailed off, unable to say the words. Not try to kill me. Liam finished for her. What Brooke revealed next changed everything. She wasn't just Veronica's friend. She was Benjamin Caldwell's former sister-in-law. Her sister had been Benjamin's first wife, the one who had fallen from their Boston apartment balcony. I never believed it was an accident, Brooke said, tears forming in her eyes. Amanda had vertigo. She would never go near that railing voluntarily. Why didn't you come forward? Liam asked, his voice tight with controlled anger. I tried, she whispered. The police investigated, but there wasn't enough evidence. After the case was closed, I received threatening messages. Then I found out he changed his name and moved here. I followed him. To do what exactly? To find evidence. To expose him for what he did to Amanda. Brooke's hands trembled as she reached for her phone. When I met Veronica and realized she was married to you, a survival expert who'd be difficult to kill, I thought maybe you thought I might be his next victim, and that would finally get him caught, Liam concluded, the pieces falling into place. Brooke nodded miserably. I never thought Veronica would be involved. I was trying to protect her from him. Instead, I introduced them to each other. Liam left Brooke's house with a USB drive containing everything she'd collected on Benjamin's past. The information confirmed his suspicions. Benjamin was a serial predator who eliminated partners once they'd served their purpose. Veronica wasn't his mastermind partner. She was his next patsy, likely to meet with an accident herself once the insurance money came through. This new understanding didn't exonerate Veronica in Liam's eyes, but it did reshape his plans for retribution. Benjamin was the primary architect, a man who had killed before and would kill again if not stopped permanently. Back at his condo, Liam received an unexpected visitor, Police Chief Russell Paxton, Veronica's father. The older man looked haggard, the scandal having taken a visible toll. "I should have seen it," Russell said, pacing Liam's living room. "All those years on the force, and I couldn't see what was happening in my own family." Liam watched his father-in-law cautiously. They'd never been close. Russell had always thought his daughter married beneath her station. "I'm not here to make excuses for her," Russell continued. "What she did, what she tried to do, it's unforgivable." He stopped pacing and faced Liam directly. "But that doctor, he's done this before." The DA's office received an anonymous tip about similar cases across 3 states. Anonymous? Liam raised an eyebrow. Russell's expression suggested he knew more than he was saying. "Let's just say some police chiefs still have friends in low places. The kind who can access sealed records." Before leaving, Russell placed a hand on Liam's shoulder. "Whatever you're planning, and don't tell me you're not planning something, just remember that some types of justice leave stains that never wash out." Liam said nothing, but as the door closed behind his father-in-law, he realized he'd just received both a warning and tacit permission. That night, Liam reviewed everything he'd learned. Benjamin's pattern of targeting women with assets or insurance policies, Veronica's willingness to participate in his murder, and the apparent ease with which Benjamin had escaped consequences in the past. The legal case against them was strong, but not airtight. With the right attorneys and enough procedural challenges, they might receive reduced sentences or, worse, walk free entirely. Liam couldn't allow that. For Amanda, for himself, and for Benjamin's future targets, there needed to be a reckoning that the courts couldn't provide. He made 3 phone calls that night, setting in motion a plan that would ensure neither Benjamin nor Veronica would ever harm anyone again. As dawn broke over the mountains, Liam felt the last of his hesitation melt away. The man who'd survived the blizzard wasn't the same man Veronica had married. That man had died on the mountain. What returned was something colder, more determined, and utterly remorseless. Chapter 6: Depths of Deception. Benjamin Caldwell sat across from his attorney in the jail's consultation room, his once immaculate appearance now rumpled after weeks in pretrial detention. "The DA's offering a deal," Maxwell Penn said, sliding a document across the table. "Testify against Veronica, plead guilty to conspiracy and attempted murder. They'll recommend 20 years instead of life without parole." Benjamin scoffed. 20 years? I'll be 62 when I get out. "If you get out," Penn corrected. "The alternative is to go to trial with evidence that includes you on camera discussing how to kill her husband. Not to mention the questionable deaths now being investigated in Boston and Chicago." Benjamin leaned forward, lowering his voice. "There's something bigger at play here. Frost knows things he shouldn't possibly know about my past. Someone's feeding him information. Does it matter? The evidence against you is overwhelming." "It matters because there might be a way out that doesn't involve prison," Benjamin insisted. "I need you to get a message to someone." 2 days later, a corrections officer slipped Benjamin a burner phone during his exercise period. That night, he made a call to a number he knew by heart. "It's me," he said when the line connected. "I need the contingency plan." "Yes, the expensive one." Meanwhile, Veronica was pursuing her own angle from the women's detention center. She'd convinced her attorney that she had evidence proving Benjamin had drugged and manipulated her. "I was a victim too," she insisted to Patricia Womack, her defense counsel. "I can prove Benjamin has done this before. Targeted women, isolated them, then manipulated them into criminal acts." What Veronica didn't mention was that she'd been siphoning money from Liam's business accounts for years, building a nest egg that now sat in an offshore account. If she could position herself as Benjamin's victim rather than his accomplice, she might avoid significant prison time and eventually access those funds. Liam was aware of both developments thanks to Nathan's connections within the jail's communication systems. He'd anticipated their desperation and planned accordingly. Benjamin's reached out to a fixer, Nathan reported during their secure video call. Someone who specializes in problems like murder charges and evidence that needs to disappear. And Veronica? Playing the victim card hard. She's trying to access your business accounts. Liam nodded. Perfect. Everything's proceeding as expected. The next phase of Liam's plan involved a calculated risk. Through channels established by Teddy Reeves, Liam arranged to have a message delivered to Benjamin's fixer, a man known only as Harlan who operated throughout the Northwest. The message was simple. Liam Frost was willing to pay triple Benjamin's offer for Harlan's services, not against Liam, but against Benjamin and Veronica. Harlan, a pragmatic businessman above all else, agreed to meet Liam at an abandoned hunting lodge 50 miles outside Missoula. "You've got balls," Harlan said when they finally stood face to face. The fixer was younger than Liam expected, perhaps in his mid-30s, with the bland, forgettable features of someone who made a living being overlooked. "I've got motivation," Liam corrected, "and resources." Their conversation was brief, but productive. By the end, Harlan had agreed to appear to work for Benjamin while actually serving Liam's interests. The fixer would help orchestrate a jailbreak for both Benjamin and Veronica, making them believe they were being helped to flee the country. "Once they're out, what happens to them is your business," Harlan said, pocketing the first payment. "I'm just the delivery service." As Harlan left, Liam received a text from Nathan. Judge denied bail for both defendants. Trial set for February. February, the heart of Montana's winter. Fitting, Liam thought. The final piece of Liam's plan involved Chief Russell Paxton. The police chief had been conducting his own investigation into Benjamin's past, uncovering evidence of at least 2 other suspicious deaths beyond his first wife's. Women who had been close to Benjamin had a disturbing tendency to have accidents. Russell arranged to meet Liam at a diner outside Pinecrest. "I've got something," he said without preamble, sliding a file across the table. "Benjamin Caldwell isn't just a killer. He's a professional. Before medical school, he spent 3 years working as a pharmaceutical researcher for a company with government contracts." Liam opened the file to find reports on experimental compounds designed to mimic natural causes of death. He knows how to make murder look like accident or illness. Russell nodded grimly. "And I think Veronica knew exactly what she was getting into. Found this in a storage unit registered in her maiden name." He produced a small notebook filled with Veronica's handwriting, notes on Liam's routines, his medical history, and potential vulnerabilities that could be exploited. "She'd been planning this for at least 2 years, Russell said, his voice hollow. "Long before she met Caldwell." As the evidence mounted, Liam's resolve hardened. The plan was in motion, the players positioned. All that remained was to lure the prey into the final trap. A trap baited with the promise of freedom, but designed to deliver a far different outcome. That night, Liam drove to the cabin where Veronica had abandoned him. The property had been released back to him after the initial investigation. He spent hours meticulously preparing it for what would come next. By the time he finished, the cabin had been transformed from a simple retreat into an elaborate mechanism of justice, or perhaps vengeance. The distinction no longer mattered to Liam. As he drove back to Missoula under a star-filled sky, Liam reflected on how completely his life had changed in just a few months. He'd lost his wife, his business was on hold, and his reputation had been reduced to that poor man in local gossip. But he'd gained something too, a clarity of purpose and a freedom from the constraints of conventional morality. Survival in its purest form wasn't just about enduring physical hardship. It was about emerging stronger from attempts to destroy you. And Liam intended to survive this too, no matter the cost. Chapter 7. Escape and Pursuit. The jailbreak occurred during a January ice storm that had crippled much of western Montana. Power outages affected critical security systems at both detention facilities where Benjamin and Veronica were held. Emergency generators mysteriously failed to engage, and in the confusion, both prisoners disappeared from their cells. Detective Renner called Liam with the news at 2 a.m. "We have officers en route to your location. Stay inside and keep your doors locked until they arrive." "You think they're coming for me?" Liam asked, injecting just the right amount of concern into his voice. "It's a possibility we have to consider. These aren't typical fugitives, Mr. Frost. They're intelligent and desperate." Liam thanked her for the warning and promised to stay put. As soon as the call ended, he activated the next phase of his plan. The tracking devices Harlan had planted on both fugitives showed them converging at a motel just outside Missoula, exactly where they'd been directed. From his position in a vacant apartment across the street, Liam watched through high-powered binoculars as Veronica arrived first, driven by one of Harlan's associates. She hurried inside room 114, looking nervously over her shoulder. 20 minutes later, Benjamin arrived in a stolen hospital maintenance truck. Their reunion was brief and tense from what Liam could observe through the window. They appeared to be arguing until Benjamin showed Veronica something on his phone that caused her expression to shift from anger to relief. According to Nathan, who was monitoring their communications, they believed they had private transportation to Canada, leaving in 3 hours. From there, they would fly to a non-extradition country using the false identities Harlan had provided. What they didn't know was that the identities were genuinely official, issued by a government agency that owed Teddy Reeves a significant favor. The documentation would pass any cursory inspection but would trigger immediate alerts if actually used at any border. At 4:30 a.m., a nondescript van pulled into the motel parking lot. Benjamin and Veronica emerged from their room carrying small bags, their breath visible in the frigid air. They climbed into the van, which promptly departed heading west. Liam followed at a distance in an unmarked SUV, tracking their movement both visually and electronically. The van took a series of back roads before turning on a Forest Service Road 237, a remote route that led deeper into the mountains and, eventually, to Liam's cabin. By the time Benjamin and Veronica realized they weren't heading toward the Canadian border, it was too late. The van stopped in a clearing 2 miles from the cabin, and Harlan's driver informed them of a change of plans. "What the hell is this?" Benjamin demanded as they were directed out of the van into the pre-dawn darkness. The driver, a stoic man known only as Pete, handed them a satellite phone and a GPS unit. "Your transportation is waiting at these coordinates. Previous route was compromised. This is safer." "In the middle of nowhere? During winter?" Veronica protested, hugging herself against the cold. "Your choice," Pete shrugged. "Stay here and freeze, or follow the GPS to your rideout." He got back into the van and drove away, leaving them alone in the wilderness. From his observation point half a mile away, Liam watched through thermal imaging as Benjamin and Veronica argued briefly before starting to follow the GPS directions, straight toward the cabin. The temperature was dropping rapidly as the storm intensified. Neither fugitive was properly dressed for the conditions, having expected to be transported directly to their next location. By the time they spotted the cabin's outline through the trees, they were stumbling from cold and exhaustion. Benjamin reached the door first, relief evident in his posture as he discovered it unlocked. They rushed inside, finding a fire already burning in the hearth and emergency supplies laid out on the kitchen table. "This doesn't make sense," Veronica said, warming her hands by the fire. "Why would our escape route lead us to your cabin? It's the first place the police will look." Benjamin examined the satellite phone they'd been given. "Call the number in the contacts. Ask what the hell is going on." When Veronica dialed, the phone in Liam's pocket rang. He allowed himself a small smile before answering, his voice disguised by a simple voice modulator. "You've reached your final destination," he told them. The color drained from Veronica's face as she put the call on speaker. "Who is this?" "The person who engineered your escape," Liam replied. "And the person who will determine whether you leave this mountain alive." Benjamin grabbed the phone. Listen to me. Whatever Frost is paying you, I can double it. Triple it. This isn't about money, Dr. Caldwell. It's about justice. Check the drawer in the kitchen island. Inside the drawer, they found a detailed dossier on Benjamin's past crimes, the identities he'd assumed, the women he'd murdered, and the evidence that had been buried or overlooked. Alongside it was a similar file on Veronica, including records of her embezzlement from Liam's company and her previous attempts to poison him with small doses of untraceable toxins. "What do you want?" Benjamin demanded, his composure cracking as he saw his life laid bare. "I want you to experience what your victims felt," Liam replied. Trapped, betrayed, facing the inevitable. With that, the call disconnected. Moments later, metal shutters slammed down over all windows and doors, sealing the cabin completely. The sound system Liam had installed began playing a recorded message in his natural voice. Welcome back to the scene of the crime. Chapter 8. The Game of Survival. Inside the sealed cabin, Benjamin and Veronica frantically searched for a way out. The metal shutters were impenetrable, the satellite phone now dead. The only communication device was a mounted tablet that flickered to life, showing Liam's face. "Congratulations on your escape," he said, his voice calm and measured. "Unfortunately, your freedom will be brief." "Liam, please," Veronica began, her voice breaking. "This has gone far enough. We can work something out. Like you worked out my murder?" Liam replied coldly. "I'm not interested in negotiations. I'm interested in justice." Benjamin lunged at the tablet. "You can't do this. This is kidnapping," says the man who's killed 3 women for profit, Liam countered. "But I'm not like you, Benjamin. I'm not going to murder you. Instead, I'm going to give you what I never had, a sporting chance." The tablet displayed a countdown timer set for 36 hours. "That's how long your oxygen will last with the cabin sealed," Liam explained. "However, there's a way out. Several ways, actually. This cabin contains 3 different escape routes, each requiring specific skills or knowledge to access. Find one, and you live. Fail, and, well, you already know what it's like to die from oxygen deprivation, don't you, Benjamin? Given your expertise in mimicking natural deaths." As Liam outlined the rules of his twisted game, the full horror of their situation dawned on the trapped pair. They were pawns in an elaborate revenge scenario designed by a man who specialized in survival against impossible odds. The first clue appeared on the tablet, a riddle related to Liam and Veronica's past together. Something only a loving wife would know. "This is insane," Benjamin hissed as they struggled with the puzzle. "He's toying with us." "Shut up and think," Veronica snapped. "The answer has to be related to our honeymoon. The ridge we climbed in Colorado." Their correct answer unlocked a small compartment containing tools they would need later if they survived that long. Meanwhile, Liam had established a command center in the property's old groundskeeper cabin, half a mile from the main structure. From there, he monitored every room through hidden cameras, controlling the game's progression. Nathan's voice came through his earpiece. "Police have expanded their search area. They're focusing on known border crossings, but they've also assigned a unit to check your properties." "How long until they reach the cabin?" "With current road conditions? At least 48 hours. Maybe longer if the storm intensifies as predicted." Liam nodded, satisfied. Plenty of time. Back in the cabin, Benjamin and Veronica had progressed to the second challenge, a physical test requiring them to access a hidden compartment in the chimney. The rising temperature in the sealed cabin made the task nearly unbearable. "He's recreating what he went through," Veronica realized as sweat poured down her face. The physical stress, the betrayal, the fear of death. Benjamin, less accustomed to physical exertion, struggled to reach the mechanism. "This is your expertise," he gasped. "You were the one always going on adventures with him." Their dynamic began to deteriorate as the hours passed. Benjamin's true nature emerged, selfish, manipulative, willing to sacrifice Veronica to save himself. When she solved the puzzle before he could, he shoved her aside to claim the reward, a key that opened a supply cabinet containing water and emergency rations. "We need to share," she protested as he hoarded the supplies. Like you shared your husband with me? Benjamin sneered. This isn't a partnership, Veronica. It never was. You were just a means to an end. 5 million means, to be exact. By the 18-hour mark, oxygen levels in the cabin had noticeably decreased. Veronica and Benjamin had managed to solve 4 of Liam's challenges, each revealing components of what appeared to be a complex escape mechanism. But their cooperation had completely collapsed. Benjamin had revealed his intention to eliminate Veronica once they'd escaped, just as he'd done with his previous partners. Veronica, in turn, had admitted she'd already moved most of the embezzled money to an account Benjamin couldn't access. Watching their deterioration, Liam felt a cold satisfaction. He hadn't needed to punish them directly. They were doing it to each other, revealing their true selves when faced with mortality. The final challenge was the most difficult, a series of mechanical and electronic puzzles that, when solved correctly, would trigger one of the escape routes. It required both Benjamin's precision and Veronica's knowledge of Liam's design philosophy. As they struggled with the increasingly complex tasks, their oxygen deprivation became severe. Both were experiencing headaches, confusion, and impaired judgment, exactly what Liam had suffered on the mountain. We need to work together, Veronica slurred, her movements uncoordinated. It's the only way. Benjamin, his medical training making him acutely aware of their symptoms, nodded reluctantly. Final alliance. After that, all bets are off. In his observation post, Liam received another update from Nathan. Police just interviewed Harlan. He gave him nothing, but they're now focusing on locations within a 100-mile radius of Missoula. Time to accelerate the endgame, Liam replied. He activated the cabin's sprinkler system, drenching Benjamin and Veronica with ice-cold water. The shock jolted them momentarily from their oxygen-deprived stupor. Final phase begins now, Liam announced through the cabin speakers. You have 1 hour before oxygen levels become lethal. One escape route remains accessible. The others are now permanently sealed. The tablet displayed a map of the cabin with a glowing marker indicating the last possible exit, a narrow passage beneath the floorboards that led to an underground tunnel. The tunnel would take them to a supply bunker Liam had built years ago as a survival precaution, stocked with enough provisions for several days. What Benjamin and Veronica didn't know was that the bunker, while providing temporary safety, was itself a prison, one from which there was truly no escape. Chapter 9. Frozen Justice. As Benjamin and Veronica frantically tore up the floorboards to access the escape tunnel, Liam made final preparations at the bunker's entrance. The timer in the cabin showed less than 30 minutes of breathable air remaining. I've got movement on the access road, Nathan's voice warned through the communication system. Police vehicle, still about 40 minutes out. Perfect timing, Liam replied. Everything was converging exactly as planned. Inside the cabin, Benjamin had become increasingly violent, shoving Veronica aside as they located the tunnel entrance. Move, he growled, his physician's composure completely gone. I'm going first. We go together, Veronica insisted, her own survival instincts fully engaged. You need me to navigate the tunnel. Benjamin laughed harshly. I need you? That's rich coming from the woman who couldn't even kill her husband properly. Nevertheless, he realized she might indeed know details about the tunnel that could prove crucial. They descended into the narrow passage, crawling through the cold darkness with only a small emergency light to guide them. The tunnel was barely wide enough for one person, forcing them to proceed in single file, with Benjamin leading. After nearly 20 minutes of claustrophobic crawling, they reached the bunker entrance, a reinforced door with an electronic keypad. The code had been revealed through their solved puzzles, each digit representing a significant date in Liam and Veronica's relationship. 6-1-3-8-5-7. Veronica recited as Benjamin punched in the numbers. The heavy doors swung open, revealing a well-stocked survival bunker with enough supplies to last weeks. Both fugitives stumbled inside, gasping for the fresh, oxygen-rich air. We made it, Benjamin wheezed, collapsing onto a cot. Veronica moved immediately to a storage locker, searching for weapons or communications equipment. Don't get comfortable. We need to. Her words cut off as the bunker door slammed shut behind them. The electronic lock engaged with an ominous click. Welcome to your new home. Liam's voice came through speakers embedded in the ceiling. You've successfully escaped death by oxygen deprivation. Congratulations. Benjamin staggered to his feet. What is this? Another game. No more games, Liam replied. This bunker is now your prison. It contains enough food, water, and air to keep you both alive for approximately 1 month, if you ration carefully. The implications dawned on them slowly. You're leaving us here? Veronica asked, her voice small. Justice comes in many forms, Liam continued. The courts might have sentenced you to 20 years in a comfortable cell with the possibility of parole. I'm offering a different arrangement. 1 month together, with no escape and no oversight. Just the two of you, the true natures, and the knowledge that only one of you can survive long enough for potential rescue. Benjamin lunged at the nearest speaker. You can't do this. This is murder. No, Benjamin. This is survival, the purest form of justice. The same chance you gave me on that mountain. A small compartment in the wall slid open, revealing a single 9mm pistol with 6 bullets. A decision-making tool, Liam explained. Use it however you see fit. Before either could respond, the speakers went silent. All that remained was the soft hum of the ventilation system and the ticking of a wall-mounted clock counting down their remaining time. Outside, Liam removed all evidence of his presence from the groundskeeper's cabin. The elaborate surveillance system was designed to self-destruct after 7 days, leaving no trace of his involvement. By then, he would be thousands of miles away. As he prepared to depart, Detective Renner's police vehicle appeared on the access road. Liam stepped out to meet her, the perfect picture of a concerned victim. Mr. Frost? What are you doing here? Renner asked, visibly surprised. I heard about the escape, Liam explained. I was worried they might come here. This is where it all happened. Renner nodded sympathetically. We're checking all properties connected to either of them. Mind if we look around? Of course, Liam agreed readily. I've been here about an hour. Haven't seen anything suspicious. The detective and her partner conducted a thorough search of the main cabin, finding nothing unusual. Liam had ensured the entrance to the tunnel was virtually undetectable without specific knowledge of its location. All clear, Renner's partner reported. No signs of forced entry or recent occupation. Liam feigned relief. That's good to know. I was planning to stay here tonight, try to, reclaim the place. Not let what happened destroy everything. Detective Renner touched his arm gently. That's understandable, but I'd advise against it until they're recaptured. These are dangerous people, Mr. Frost. You're right, Liam nodded. I'll head back to town. Please let me know when you find them. As the police departed, Liam took one last look at the property. Beneath their feet, Benjamin and Veronica were already turning on each other. The bunker's surveillance system sent encrypted feeds to Liam's secure server, documenting their final chapter for his records. Benjamin had taken possession of the gun, using it to force Veronica to surrender her share of the rations. In return, she had sabotaged the water purification system when he wasn't looking. Their mutual destruction was inevitable. 6 months later, an anonymous tip led investigators to the bunker. They found 2 bodies, Benjamin shot through the head. Veronica succumbed to dehydration. A suicide note in Benjamin's handwriting confessed to multiple murders, including his previous wives and girlfriends. It also detailed the plot to kill Liam and claim his insurance money, taking full responsibility and describing Veronica as a willing accomplice. The case was closed as a murder-suicide during an escape attempt. 2 criminals who turned on each other when their plans fell apart. With all charges against the deceased formally dropped, Liam collected his insurance policy for the cabin, which had mysteriously burned to the ground shortly after the bodies were discovered. He sold his remaining properties in Montana and relocated to Alaska, where he established a new wilderness survival school focusing on extreme conditions. His story, the survivor who narrowly escaped his wife's murder plot, made him something of a celebrity in survival circles. Few people knew the full truth of what had transpired in that mountain bunker. Chief Russell Paxton suspected, but never pursued his suspicions, perhaps feeling justice had ultimately been served. Nathan and Teddy maintained their silence, bound by loyalty and their own complicity. On the anniversary of his near death on the mountain, Liam stood on the deck of his new home overlooking the Alaskan wilderness. The cold didn't bother him anymore. Nothing did. He had survived the ultimate betrayal and emerged stronger, more focused, completely remade. In his study, a small fireproof safe contained the only evidence of what really happened. The complete surveillance footage, Benjamin's true confession extracted under duress, and a map of the bunker showing the hidden emergency exit that neither prisoner had discovered. An exit that had always been there, just beyond their reach. Justice, Liam had learned, wasn't found in courtrooms or prison cells. True justice was when the punishment perfectly mirrored the crime, when betrayers ultimately betrayed each other, and when the victim became the architect of retribution. He raised a glass to the frozen landscape before him. To survival, he whispered, at any cost. And there you have it. Another story comes to an end. What did you think?